the God list, and what is it all about and why? I believe that one of the things that our hearts most long for is an intimate relationship with God. And sometimes this longing that's inside of us can be misunderstood or misinterpreted as physical hunger. We try feeding that hunger that we have in our hearts with physical food, and it just doesn't meet the need. And so we continue to try to feed it with physical food. And this may be, in fact, be one of the reasons why we struggle with binging, even though in our heads we know this doesn't make sense. Why do I keep eating this? And we bang ourselves over our heads for doing that very thing that we hate to do. Okay, so my theory is that rather than have this thought of, I have to stop thinking about food, I don't want to think about food, we've got to do something a little bit different. And the reason I believe that is because think of it this way. If I tell you, don't think about a green gorilla. Okay, right now, don't think about a green gorilla. Got it? You're not thinking of a green gorilla, are you? Okay, my theory is that when you try not to think about something like a green gorilla, that's exactly what you're going to think about. So, rather than telling ourselves, don't think about food, or don't think about green gorillas, we've got to choose to think about something else. If thinking about food right now will not serve the purpose of my godly goals, I want to think about something that will, in fact, serve my desire to honor God with my eating and drinking. The best thing to think about is God himself, to get to know him, to spend time in his presence, to actually feast on his presence. And what I find that does is it satisfies this inner longing inside of me. There is a hunger going on, but it's not a hunger for physical food. That hunger that I feel, I believe, was actually placed in me by God to draw me closer to himself and into greater intimacy with him. And if I throw physical food at it, or any number of other things that we often think of as addictions, I will never satisfy that hunger that's inside of me, and I will keep throwing things at it. Okay, so this is the way this works. Instead of telling myself not to think about food, or not to think about spending, or not to think about green gorillas, I've got to decide I'm going to think about something else. This is the purpose that the God list serves. If every day I add a little bit to my God list, I will have a whole list of things about God and his attributes. Okay, so what is the God list? The God list, and I've got to come up with another name for it someday, and maybe you can come up with another name for it. It's basically a running list. I keep it my whole life long, all the time, of God's attributes. How he behaves towards people, the things that what is he like? So it can include any of those things. What's he like, and how does he treat people? I might glean from time in the Word. Obviously, there's a whole lot in God's Word that tells me about what God's like and how he acts towards people. But I might also add to it from words of a song, from a hymnal, from a sermon I heard, or a book I've read, or from my Thin Within workbook exercises as well, or articles as well. And I like to keep it in a number of places so that it might not all be in one place. I have kept my God list inside the cover of my workbook, my Thin Within workbook. I've also kept it in a journal. I also have a God list in my iPad. Let's see if I can show you this. This is my iPad God list, and I have it in my BlackBerry too. So any place that I go, I'm going to have either my BlackBerry, my iPad, or I'll probably have something with me that has at least a portion of my God list. When that hunger, that churning, that aching for something, and I know I'm not physically hungry, okay, or even if I wonder, I can go to my God list and just, even if I'm like hardly willing, I can at least say these things back to God. And so my God list says things like he is. And the way that I actually use my God list is, Lord, you are. So this is how I might use it. And this is what I call praise fest or praise feast, feasting on the presence of God. Okay, so my God list says he is the Lord, my God. He is these things. And I'm going to, instead of saying he is in my prayer, I'm going to, of course, say you are. So, Lord, you have ransomed me. I am precious and honored in your sight. You love me. You are with me. You've promised to be with me. You are the God of all comfort. You are the Father of compassion. You comfort me in my troubles. You raise me above my circumstances. Your love reaches to the heavens. Your faithfulness reaches to the skies. God, your righteousness is like mighty mountains, and your justice is like the great deep. Okay, so you get the idea. I use it as a prayer. I can also take just one of those attributes or behaviors and focus on that throughout my day. So that, like, if I have decided, okay, today, God, I'm going to focus on the fact that you are my shepherd, then throughout the day, I might just train my mind to think about, what does a shepherd do? Well, I know from Psalm 23, he leads us beside still waters. Lord, here I am in a traffic jam, and this doesn't feel very still. Well, it feels still on the one hand, but I'm churning inside. And I just need you right now to be my shepherd. In my heart of hearts, would you please guide me beside still waters? Would you show me that quiet place in my heart right now, even while the traffic is crazy around me? Excuse me. Or even while my kids are fighting, or life is topsy-turvy. I can look to God as my shepherd, so I can take one attribute or one name for God with me all day long through all the ins and outs, and just get to know him better as the shepherd, or as provider, or as my comforter, or as my portion. Okay, so all of those can be things that I take with me through the day. Now, how do you actually think about using this? Okay, so that's the God list. The God list is a running list of the attributes of God, what's he like, and what he does for people, or his names. It can be anything that you've gotten from anywhere, and keep it in a number of places so that you have ready access to it anytime. How do you use it? As a prayer, as a praise fest, but how do you remember to use it, and how do you help yourself be willing to use it that way? That's a little trickier. Sometimes with an act of the will, I just read my God list. In fact, I need to work on using my God list more. That's my true confession, because I know this works. If I'm thinking about food, if I'm wondering if I'm really hungry, I need to stop, get my God list out, and just say, God, I know you are awesome. You are my portion. You are my satisfaction. You are my provision. And if I come out of that praise fest time still wondering if I'm hungry, I can do a few other, like a pedometer check, and see if I'm actually hungry, and know then. Okay, I set the timer on my watch, and that's something I do. It can be every hour. It can be, sometimes I set it every 20 minutes. And when that timer goes off, I'll check in with God, sometimes with the things that are on my God list, or things that, like if I took one attribute with me through the day, that'll be what I check in with God about when my timer goes off. You can train yourself to think about the Lord, to feast on him throughout the day this way. I have found that by doing that, and it can be kind of a funky thing to do, kind of a strange thing to do, but it's worth it. It is totally worth it. If you have a day where you're not going to be in meetings, it's going to be really quiet, and your timer's going to make everybody go, what's that for? I really recommend using that as a day to train yourself to think Godward thoughts, to focus on him. The timer goes off, I'm thinking thoughts, God, I'm checking in with you. You are my satisfaction. You are my provision. In this moment, you are my comforter. You are my very great reward. So we learn how to do that by training ourselves. And the scriptures do say, train yourselves to be godly. So it's a great tactic. When I'm struggling, sometimes you can have a boundary for yourself that for 5 minutes before I eat, when I wonder at all, or even if I don't wonder, it's time for dinner. I know dinner's going to come in just, I've got dinner ready for the family in 15 minutes. I can take time just to sit down with my God list and to refocus my heart, my attention on the Lord and his attributes, who he is, and how he wants to meet all my needs. He is my comforter. I don't need to look to food to be my comforter. He is my portion. I don't need to eat 12 cheese burritos or cheese enchiladas, whatever. Anyway, so I hope this helps you understand why I think the God list is so important, what the God list is, and how to use it. And if not, I hope that you will email me at Heidi@HeidiBylsma.com. That's HEIDI at HEIDIBYLSMA.com. And I'll be glad to answer any questions that I can about this. I hope this bit has been helpful for you.